Mussar, and some car came screaming around the corner, going way too fast for a city street. And she said, "Oh, well, there's a person who really needs Mussar." And my immediate thought was, if it wasn't for Mussar, I would be that person.
Yeah.
So yes, it is the right question to ask. How do we keep from being the difficult relative at the gathering? Well, I will welcome everyone to this week's American Mussar Community Gathering. And we had a fantastic meeting 2 weeks ago, our first week studying enthusiasm, alacrity. And this week will be our second week studying and exploring that trait. But first, we will begin, as we always do, with a short meditation. So I invite you, please, to close your eyes and take in a deep breath through the nose and hold, and exhale through the mouth and hold, and inhale through the nose and hold, and exhale through the mouth and hold. And as you go at your own pace of inhaling and exhaling, if thoughts should come into your head, just observe them and let them pass. Like watching a car move past down the road. Now is not the time for solving problems or for planning. Right now, all you need to do is inhale through the nose and hold, and exhale through the mouth and hold. And on your next inhale, say to yourself, Shema, and on the exhale, listen. Shema, listen. In Shema, we're listening deeply, without judgment, without offering advice. In Shema, we are listening with an open heart. Shema, listen. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Well, friends, a number of you arrived while either during the meditation or when we were chatting, so we'll say hello to Bonnie and Nico and Barbara, Guy and Harry and Christo and Carolyn and Beth. I think that's everybody. So it is great to see you all. And to begin our conversation today, the question is a quote from Genesis Rabbah. The mitzvah or deed is only ascribed to one who completes it. So, as I said in my email today we're going to focus a little bit on the other side of alacrity. Last time we talked about overcoming procrastination, but it also helps not only with beginning tasks, but completing tasks. And yes, you can procrastinate about completing, but there's a different energy between beginning something and completing something. So there's this idea that you only the deed only counts when you complete it. Um, there are pros and cons. So I'm curious what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Hey, Lois and David, welcome.
Hi.
Nice to see
Hi.
you. Hi, Martin. Great to see you today.
We couldn't find your todays. We could only find last week's. Finally, we tried it, and here you are.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad that you figured it out. So, Sue, you were first
Well,
up, and
when you
then
put that
Nico.
up there, yeah, my thought was, isn't it in Pirkei Avot where it says it's not our task, our requirement to complete the task?
Yes.
So that's what that made me think of, that, so I'm
Yeah,
kind of
that's
on the
true.
disagree that we don't have to complete the task. We can begin, and
Hmm.
maybe even somebody else could complete it for us. It's still a mitzvah, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Sue. Nico and then Bonnie.
Think, well, there's two ways in which I am. First one is yes, when you start something, it's good to finish it and go all the way.
Hmm.
But relating personally to it, that's not really my problem. Generally, when I start something, I finish it. But
Hmm.
the complete, I understand complete as 100%, which means not only finishing it, but finishing it properly, like not doing a half-ass job, which
Hmm.
is often my issue with, I don't know, cleaning something or tidying something or that kind of a thing. Um, that's how I see it most. Not only because finishing it is kind of simple. You start something, you finish it unless you procrastinate. But finishing it to the highest standard is how I understand it. And that's where the real mitzvah is to me. That's where the real effort is.
Great. Thank you, Nico. So we have Bonnie and then Wendy and then Carolyn.
So,
So I'm a big believer in rewards. And I find I do work with people who either can't figure out how to get rid of junk or can't organize their files and they're overwhelmed. And the approach I
want
take for myself and when I work with clients
to raise your
is to
hand.
start small. So you have a closet that you don't know what to do with, and you're overwhelmed. Don't start with the whole closet. Start with 3 feet.
Mm.
Get 3 feet done and then reward yourself.
Mm.
So if you break it down, that's why I don't agree with that statement, because there are levels of completion.
Hmm. Yeah.
So if you set up rewards, if you take it apart and make it into breakable, doable activities, then it's doable and it's done. And you feel really good and you've given yourself a reward and you have 3 feet cleaned and now you can go to the next 3 feet.
Love it, Bonnie. Well said. It reminds me of I took a time management class when I was in the corporate world, and the person running the class called that Swiss cheesing it, where you just slice it into small little, it's not a big block of cheese. You just slice off a chunk and then you deal with that, and then you slice off the next chunk. So I like it.
Where do you
Okay,
put
we
it
have
in there?
Wendy and then Carolyn and then Martin.
I just have a question. The
You
word
want a big speaker?
the word
No.
ascribed, um, can you tell me what that means in this context? Like who ascribes it or how is it ascribed?
So, I mean, ascribed refers to kind of the one who kind of gets credit for it, or so perhaps because of the time when this is written, it sort of uh, they were really into reward and punishment for doing mitzvot and getting punished for sins. So maybe it's God that's the entity that is ascribing this in this circumstance. Now, I
So if
don't
you
believe in the
delegate,
reward and one punishment piece
so
of
if I'm
theology, but I
if,
think that was kind of where the authors were coming from.
okay, so if I see a mitzvah and I want to do it and I get it partly done and then something gets in the way and I delegate that to somebody else and then they complete it, I'm okay with that. I don't have to have anything ascribed to me.
Mm-hmm.
I want the thing that I was doing to get done. And
Uh-huh.
so I think this seems like it's supposed to motivate us to complete something, or maybe just to get it completed. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure I
Mm-hmm.
really care about being having it ascribed to me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right that it is meant to be a motivation, but you know, what I'm hearing you say, and it's totally valid, is I'm motivated to get it done, however it needs to get done, and it doesn't need to be by me. Now, of course, when they're talking about the mitzvah, I mean, they have very specific things in mind, like, lighting the Shabbat candles or, preparing the challah in the right way and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And Liam, thank you. I agree. It does kind of minimize the value of the journey. Okay, Carolyn, you have been very patient, so you are up
Yeah,
next.
I was just a couple of comments. One, in Pirkei Avot, that when that's the statement that's Rabbi Tarfon is the one that, and it's not for you to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it, which
Mhm.
is a little bit different, I think,
Yeah.
a different message, and so we're not talking about getting a project for a job. I don't see that in
Mhm.
here. I see it in a much more global, universal,
Mhm.
benefit for all kind of way.
Yeah.
That that was my thought on that. And the other
Mhm.
thing was just we were talking a little bit about credit. I think Wendy, maybe somebody mentioned credit, and we were at a Beit Midrash class last night, and
Mhm.
the rabbi was talking about credit and in the world to come and credit in this world and the whole concept a little large, but somehow the way it maybe came across, if one does something in this world and there's a reward for that, that's one thing. But if the reward is delayed,
Mhm.
then the credit is applied in the world to come. Does
Mhm.
that sound what I'm curious, Rabbi, your thoughts on that?
So let me ask for clarification. Are you asking if I agree with that idea, or are you asking if you explain the idea about getting credit in the world to come?
Yeah, you're well, I'd be interested in both.
Yeah. So there are a lot of, I mean, the problem with like the reward and punishment idea is that all the time we feel like we do good things and then something bad happens, or we see people who are very unethical or whatever term you want to use seem to be prospering with wealth and with health, and we see a righteous person get cancer. And so, what the rabbis did is the way they explained that is they said, well, the reward comes in the world to come, or the punishment comes in the world to come, without ever really defining what the world to come is. Um, so, that's kind of the rabbinic spin of that doctrine. I mean, I, I don't find that particularly helpful, and I just would rather. And there are other books of the Bible, by the way, which say we don't believe in the world to come either. So we don't believe in this reward and punishment thing either. So I personally am like, I don't think that God is rewarding and punishing people for what happens in this world. So that's my personal take on the
And
theology
how
of
much
that.
how much is it in terms of intent if one is seeking doing an action for the reward, it's very different than doing the action because that's the appropriate or just action to do without looking for a reward.
Yeah. I mean, I think like that Judaism is more focused on the action than on the intent. Like I would say from again, the
Yeah,
rabbinic traditional point of view.
yeah.
As long as you do the mitzvot and kind of obey the commandments, then you're okay. Um, and some of that I agree with. If you didn't intend to hurt someone's feelings, but you did, you're still responsible to make it right.
Yes.
So, in that regard, I kind of agree with that.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Okay, wow, this is a fantastic discussion today. So we will keep rolling with it. Martin,
See, we
and
were
then let's
talking
hear
about,
from Linda, and then back to Wendy and Michael.
see, I think the topic was about completing a task or not, right?
That's right. That is where we
Yeah.
began.
So I've got 7 major projects on my plate here, and I find as long as I start it, that gives me satisfaction. I
Mhm.
also find deep satisfaction even when they're not finished because I can see into the future of how beautiful it will be when it is finished.
Hmm.
So, which actually becomes a motivation then to continue on the next step.
Yeah.
So I guess there's almost like continually reward, even when it's not finished. Um, Again, with my ability to see into the future of what the end result's going to be.
Mhm.
Now, certainly the biggest reward is when the result is actually even greater than what I imagined. So uh, so I guess it's stressful because it's not done yet. There are deadlines, but there's certainly intermediate and continued reward during the process. So I'm pleased I'm in that place in life. Second.
Yeah, thank you. I love that kind of keeping your eye on the end result, but also, and this is what similar to what Bonnie was bringing up about intermediate steps. And I forgot what I was going to say about that, but it'll probably come back to me. Frank or Linda?
Um, the way I see mitzvahs is like has to do with building community. So I'm gonna haven't had enough time to think about what that means to me.
Hmm.
Uh, when you do a positive deed, and I'll give you an example, in the army, you were not supposed to do anything that's harmful to yourself.
Mhm.
You could be disciplined for that because you belong to the service.
Hmm.
There's a teaching that I remember as a kid is that our purpose as Jews is to study Torah. So
Mhm.
if you do any harm to yourself, that means that will limit your ability to do that.
Mhm.
So I'm getting somewhere. Um, the question then was asked, if the Mashiach comes and you're planting a tree, what are you supposed to do? And we learned that you're supposed to finish planting the tree.
Mhm.
So what I'm getting at is that there are so many. So I'm going to come to myself because I like to do that because I think it's the stories that we share with each other that matters. There's a lot of things I want to do, and I don't necessarily share it with anybody. Although Linda is probably privy to a lot of my, and that doesn't go anywhere.
Mhm.
But I feel that a mitzvah, what it means to me is that when we reach out and we do something, I feel we're building community.
Mhm.
And building community, I feel, is the ultimate.
Yeah.
Is the ultimate is. And if you have to what's the word? You have to go back and fix it. Well, then we should, go back and fix it if you can.
Thank you, Frank. Two really interesting and very different examples because building community, of course, is never done. There's always more to do and it needs to be maintained. But building a tree or planting a tree, from that example, until the tree's planted, digging a hole doesn't really help anything and it actually might be dangerous for somebody. So that's a case where, yeah, there's intermediate steps and we can, stop and have a popsicle to reward ourselves before we finish planting the tree. But if the tree's never planted, then the tree's never planted. There isn't value in the intermediate steps so much along the way. So it's interesting. Okay, so now on to Wendy.
I have another question. So what I'm hearing is it's more like a vow. Like it's kind of akin to a vow. If you know about the mitzvah and you want to do it, so that's your good intentions, and that's what you said that doesn't mean much really, unless it's accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
So, but vows are really important, and I think about Jacob being a role model for vow taking when Jacob was saying, uh, if you do this for me, God, and then I have these people, and I'm going to make it home, and everything's going to be fine, then I'm going to do what I need to do to uh, belong to, do the next step, establish um, establish us, establish Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but he did it. And so I'm thinking it's important, but then we do sometimes get to be excused from those vows on Yom Kippur. So it's like, we need to do it, but then the whole thing is about being a scribe, though, I think.
Hmm.
Because that other one, if you're taking a vow, that's really personal. But if you're doing a mitzvah, then the whole world can see it. And then it might be ascribed to you. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just other people see it. I don't know. I'm just hung up on that word ascribed, I guess.
Well, thank you, Wendy. I could thank you for sharing kind of your mental explorations, and there's a lot of kind of interconnections and that you're percolating on. So thank you. Well, I want to make sure we can get to Michael and Lois and David here. So Michael.
Um, yeah, this is thank you all for your comments of really getting my mind whizzing around. Two things are coming up for me. One is I tend to I'm making a big difference in my head between the things that only I can do, the things that are like my own self-care, for instance, stuff like that, which I feel like is stuff that I can't pass off.
Hmm.
So their completion really does rest on me rather than some other stuff. And so when I'm reading quotes like this, I'm focusing much more on that former category than the latter category. Because if it comes to repairing the world or even some small corner of it, that's more than just me. I'm going to need help to do that. There's nothing I can do to repair the world that isn't going to require a lot of help from a lot of other people.
Mhm.
The only thing I can do that puts me front and center is repairing myself. So Mussar and these other things that I do. And as I think about those things, two other thoughts. One, ascribed in this context to me then would be I would be ascribed if my own health is better. If my mental health is better, if my spiritual health is better, if my emotional health and physical health are better, then I am ascribed.
Mhm.
I am blessed. I am helped, saved, whatever word, all those words together you want to use are all happen. So I think for me so I think that's one way of thinking about ascribed for me. And then the other piece is, even in that context, I'm not sure what completion means because even if I'm healthy now, I won't be healthy later.
Mhm.
My body changes, my mind changes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know if I'm struggling with completion here. I mean, I get
Yeah.
it when you say I'm planting a tree, but if I'm thinking about my own health, if I'm thinking about the health of my community, if I'm thinking about any of those other things, I don't even know what completion even looks like here.
Yeah.
And so now I'm thrown back to that Perkei Avot quote, which says, okay, you're not going to complete it. So don't even try. That's not the goal. The goal isn't completion. The goal is do your part as best as you can do your part.
Yeah. And yeah, maybe it's like completion every day, or maybe if we think of the Bonnie discrete steps, okay, I
Yeah.
have high blood pressure. I got to take my high blood pressure medication every day. There's no good intentions about taking your high blood pressure medication. You
Mhm.
don't take it, and you risk getting a stroke or a heart attack, and then to quote one of my kids, that would be an epic fail on on the self care front, right? So um, yeah, thank you, Lois and David. If you could remember to unmute, please.
No, um, what Michael said is what I've been thinking also, just is a task ever really, the difficulty of completing a task. And the example you gave in your email about finishing up a book. Oh, I mean, perfection. When is it perfect? I think
Yeah.
the thing about when are you done and what goal you set? And you can stay on something forever if it has to be really perfect. So you have to just, in a way, just it's yours. Some of the examples you gave that you have to do sound, I guess they're mechanical, but at least they're that when they're done. So,
Yes, and it's so funny you bring that up because today I was reviewing the final PDF, for approval, and I noticed a comma was missing on the copyright page.
yeah,
I'm like, it was like print on demand edition 2025 instead of print on demand edition, comma 2025. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let this one go.
Yeah.
I did not ask for another change because it could have introduced something
Mhm.
else, and I needed to be respectful of my time and the other person's time. And so I let it go. But it's exactly the point. It's like, did I not complete the project? Well, I declared it done.
That's good.
I
Yeah.
declared it completed.
You could
And
s- you could spend
so,
years. I know many people working on books. They spend years in it because their goals are too. I think too. You have to stop and say it's done.
right.
Yeah.
Like one of the issues that I discovered was one of the spectrum diagrams was incorrect in a chapter. It's like, okay, that you have to fix. I mean, that's catastrophic if the book
Yeah.
goes out with that. But compared to a comma on the copyright page that nobody's going to read unless they're, seriously depressed or something, um, yeah. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So now we have a different flavor of the question, a slightly different quote. Um, from Rabbi Shlomo Wolbe, who's one of the great Mussar masters of the 20th century. So, could someone please unmute and read this quote from Wolbe as presented by Alan Marinis?
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Rabbi Shlomo Wolbe explains, however, that a mitzvah delayed, that's my big thing, delaying, or done unenthusiastically is not a mitzvah that might go wrong, but one that has already gone wrong. It's a second-rate performance that has already been contaminated. The lesson here is that merely showing up in life just isn't enough. Drifting along with no passion for living, repeating the same good acts in a routine way is a kind of sin. Wow.
Great. Thank you. So this reminds me a little bit of Nico's comment, way back, 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago about wanting to do things to a good degree. So yeah, I'm going to stop the share. If someone wants me to put it in the chat, let me know. So already we got Martin and Liam have jumped in. So Martin,
Yeah, I think this is so clear and evident that this is how it has to be. I can't even see a reason to discuss it. It's so obvious and clear that that's correct. What's to discuss? That's my
okay,
comment.
so you are 1,000% on board with this point of view.
Yeah.
Thank you. Liam,
I can't remember who wrote it. I think it was Rambam, but I'm not positive. But in referencing the mitzvah of tzedakah, that it didn't matter whether you meant it or not, that doing the exact opposite from what that statement, that the important thing was to do it because you're helping people. If your heart's not in it, you're still doing the act that needs to get done. And that has value to it too. I wish I could remember who had said that.
it certainly sounds like Rambam, although could have been any number of masters, and more than one has said it, I'm sure. But yeah, tzedakah is a great example. The point is to help poor people. And if you're giving money or food or whatever, who cares what your attitude is? So that's oh yes, and Nico is chiming in with the Woody Allen. Sometimes we just got to put our best face in. Like I remember, I know I've shared this story here, but probably not today. So that means I get to share it again. Years ago, when I was fairly early in my Mussar practice, and it was probably my first time around practicing enthusiasm, a note came out from the synagogue that they needed people to go to this thing called Home and Hope, which was unhoused people were allowed to set up tents in the sanctuary of the synagogue, and they needed people to come in and show up. And because some people had canceled, and was just not comfortable with that. It's just not proud of it, but I said, all right, practicing enthusiasm, I I got to just show up. And so I did. And I went and I had conversations with people and I hung out. It was never comfortable for me. It's not one of these stories where and I came out a better person and my whole world and viewpoint was changed. There was maybe a piece of that, and it really brought for me the humanity of like the people and the families that were there. But I did a good thing showing up. That was the best I could do, was to show up and do my best to be present and engaged, even though my internal world. So I would say I did show up enthusiastically, in fact, because I showed up. And um, so, yeah, it's really interesting. And maybe, yeah, and I see that differently now because I used to see it as I showed up unenthusiastically, but I actually did. I think I really did, actually. And maybe, part of the lesson is not to judge ourselves too harshly when we do show up and we do our best. Beth.
I think attitude can be important in some ways. For example, if you give charity with a grudge, like, well, okay, I just have to give you this. I don't want to. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to have to go without dessert this week because I'm giving you this charity. But take it. That's bad. That nullifies your mitzvah. But on the other hand, just showing up, you might have been having a bad day and you're still not having a wonderful day, but you're showing up to help and you're doing your best. I think that still counts as a mitzvah, and God looks on the heart. He's going to judge it along those lines. But again, I'm going to go with Martin that, if you don't finish the mitzvah, it's not done. It's like if you're going to bury a body because this is the greatest mitzvah, it can never be repaid, and you don't finish burying him, he's not buried. He's going to stink.
Yeah.
And so will your mitzvah.
Well said, Beth. Thank you. Nico.
To go back to what you were saying about enthusiasm and putting a brave face on something, sometimes it's just hard to do something. It's just hard to do it like with.
Yeah, I'm here. Uh-oh, I think Nico's
Because as
Nico, you were frozen for about 15 seconds there, so if you could just back up.
Sorry. Okay. So yeah, I was saying it's not always easy to be enthusiastic, and some tasks are just hard. Not only burying a body, but some are just hard to do. I would push that further and go with compromise. Achieving a good compromise could be seen as a mitzvah in itself, like brokering peace or something. As we all know, a good compromise, no one gets out of it satisfied. So where is the enthusiasm in there? The enthusiasm is in the fact that you're still doing it, even though you're not fully, you can say your heart is not fully in it, but you're still doing something good. And sometimes that's the point.
Yeah. All right. You may have heard something in the background. They had a plumber that just arrived to do some work. And this is a good time for us to go to breakout rooms. So I am going to share in the chat what the topic is. So a new therapist in training was puzzled. As a new therapist, I was puzzled why I kept feeling remarkably sleepy during my sessions with one particular client. My supervisor taught me to recognize my fatigue and yawning as a sign of tension, not tiredness. So, are there times when tension leads you to procrastinate? And is there a tension you have around completing tasks that might hold you back? And I know I've experienced flavors of that before. So you can use these prompts as inspiration for your conversations. Okay, so let me create the breakout rooms here. Okay, so the rooms are open. I'm going to pause the recording.
This was
Yeah.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. So, plumbing issue, disposal has been fixed. So, yay. So, how were those conversations? I would love to kind of hear any insights you have. Remember, those are confidential, so please don't share something personal your partner said. But
We
also
had a
share
big
mine.
discussion over what alacrity.
Over what? What did you say, Lois? A discussion of
What alacrity is.
ah. And did you come to any conclusions? Or have
Yeah.
any insights?
Linda's going to the dictionary after class.
Okay.
You said jumping to it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
That was good.
that's something that I don't have. I don't jump to something and do it.
Yeah.
My daughter, on the other hand, does. I was saying that when I'm on the phone with her and we're planning something, she's got it all done and taken care of online before we're off the phone.
Mhm.
And, you know, for me, it's mañana.
Right. Thank you.
But,
Other thoughts, Wendy?
And Lois, has it always been so for you, or did it change as you gracefully aged?
I don't know. I'm more of a thinker than a doer. That I hate to do, you know, little detailed work. I like big things. And so, I mean, like what's waiting for me now is just some forms to fill out, some bothersome forms and things which I've put off all day. And I need to bring them somewhere.
I hear you, Lois. Okay, let's hear from Wendy.
Well, the three of us, we were very enthusiastic about the joining the breakout room, so that was good. But one thing came up that was very interesting because one of us, I'm not saying who, one of us said that if given a mitzvah to do and accepting the mitzvah and not really being that excited about it, that she will go into doing the mitzvah, and all of a sudden the enthusiasm will pop up. So just in doing the mitzvah, you become enthusiastic, and I find that my enthusiasm grows once I start to do something too. So that's why I thought that's great. Just like do it and then don't worry about it. You'll get enthused.
Yeah, the mantra in Everyday Holiness that Alan Moranis chose was just do it. And there's definitely Jewish teachings around do first and learn later, you know, or do first and then the feeling will come. Or it's not all that different than the 12-step adage of fake it till you make it, you know. It's like, or as my Dutch Havruta would say, fake it until you awake it. So, Liam.
One of the things that we discussed was in regards to stress and tension, perhaps causing procrastination, that a lot of these things that are reactions that we're putting on ourselves and not the demands of other people. As an example, you might have a deadline, or well, first person, I might have a deadline, but whether I get it done or not is usually more my own pressure of me thinking, oh, I've got to get this done and I got to get it done right. And then by building that tension, I might avoid it for a little while and then avoid it because I'm avoiding it. And it becomes a whole spiral out.
Mm.
But that's tension I'm putting on myself. It's not like there's somebody there going, you've got to get this done.
Mhm.
It's my reaction that's causing the issue, not an external force.
Yeah. Yeah, and Liam, if I'm understanding you right, it feels like there might be an element of perfectionism which is causing problems as well.
A small one,
Yeah, yeah,
just a small one.
right. Like if we have perfectionist tendencies, or if I let my perfectionist tendencies come into play, and I see something like I could read that will be, doing a half-assed job, because I could define like something is not being done right, which 95% of the world would be like, that's like better than I would ever think of doing. And so,
Great
yeah,
point.
yeah. Okay, Peter.
Yeah, think about tension as an obstacle to completing a task. I find that tension is what is raised when I'm not completing the task. So I find it more motivating than as an obstacle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all have different psychological makeups, and you know, sometimes I tend to do things at the last minute, and I think I do need a little bit of tension of the deadline to kind of get my juices going. And so, absolutely. Okay, Beth.
Um, I was very nervous and anxious at one time, most of my life. Um, but then I came to convince myself first and then recognize that it wasn't necessarily anxiety, it could be excitement.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Beth. Well, we're kind of wrapping up here, but there's a few people we haven't heard from yet today. And so, Barbara, Christo, Guy, no need to contribute at all, but I did want to give you an opportunity if there was anything you'd like to add. And if not, that is okay.
Well, since my medication has worn off a while back, I'm just going to try to keep listening.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I'm happy to
it's
listen.
still recommended too.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. That's fine. And it's really nice to see you both today.
I appreciated last week your referencing of Alacrity because my enthusiasm rating is probably in the negative numbers.
Mm.
And even when I experience enthusiasm, I do a pretty lousy job of getting it out.
Mm.
But the idea of Alacrity it resonates more because when I think of enthusiasm for me, not for other people, it just feels like a ball of energy going every which way and uh, is distracting, overwhelming, discombobulating. But, and again, that's just for me, that's not for other people.
Sure,
Other
sure.
people have enthusiasm that's focused and motivating and
Mhm.
a very positive thing.
Good.
But
And if I'm
when,
understanding you correctly, alacrity is a term, though, that you can resonates better with you and is something
yeah,
you can
because
get behind.
it has a feeling of positive energy, but directed and focused.
Yeah.
And that focus and the structure really resonated and really makes a difference when I think of enthusiasm and then alacrity. It's like, okay, alacrity, I may not have a lot, or it may not come out, or it may not come out often, or I may not have it often, but at least I get it and it resonates.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Okay, Guy, well, we're going to give you the last word before our closing meditation. Once again, thank you all so much for just a fabulous kind of exploration today. So let's all just close our eyes and take a leisurely inhale and a leisurely exhale. And allow ourselves to experience just a moment of gratitude And just full presence with your full self. Really lean into being grateful to everyone who has been here today and contributed just by showing up, just by being present. And that we can really feel that gratitude for the others in this community who are sharing your journey today. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes.